Oopsie. Dang, man. There's another one.
In this video,
should I wait for everybody else or should we start?
We will explain.
It's the eco map. Anybody know anybody else on their way? They're like, I'm late, just tell them to wait. Which I can.
They're probably outside.
What's that?
They're probably outside.
Oh, yeah. With the door locked. Hello. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Dang, is that how much rent costs nowadays? $1,925 to rent a whole house. Do you guys know how much you all have to pay for rent?
Oh, yeah.
Is it almost $2,000? That's crazy, man. Here it is. So if you wanted to rent a whole house, and the house looks small, it's $1,925. It's a 3.5 bedroom and 1 bathroom. It's only 1,100 square feet. I don't know. I couldn't do that. All right. So after Genogram, we make what's called an eco map. So I was going to play the video, but I was trying to like drag it out 2 or 3 more minutes until other people came in. But we're filming it on here anyway. Did you guys have any questions about the genogram or any experiences? Did you learn anything about your family? You're like, oh shit. Anything you're willing to share?
The most I learned was that they don't know nothing about their family.
Right. There's like family secrets too, right? Like they don't want to talk about it. And that, that's pretty common in families. So like, that's why even in therapy, pointing that out is super important because it's like, yeah, the family doesn't want to talk about the family because the family got family secrets. And that's what could be killing us earlier than we want to be killed. So, all right, I'll give him 1 more minute. Yeah, the eco map is like where you spend most of your energy throughout the week. I was telling you guys, if you have iPhones, you can download this app. It's called Life Cycle, and it will tell you everything you do all throughout the week, how long you drive, how long you walked for, if you exercised, how long I ran for. Oh, I got to use my Face ID. I said last week I ran for 9 hours. The week before I only ran for 5 hours. The week before that, I ran for 16 hours. And it'll give you how long you slept, which is good info because like it's all where you spend your day, who's important in your day, if you go to church, if you go to Dr. Hunt's office, if you do a lot of work on school, whatever it may be. So I'll play this video. It might make more sense after the video.
Explain how to make an eco map. An eco map is a diagram showing the social and personal relationships of an individual. As we make an eco map, we put the parent or child in the center and visually display the key relationships they have. We talk with parents and children from a strength-based.
And so you guys would be in the middle. Just write your name. And the reason they're showing this is because when we see clients, we're going to want to make it with them and try to see who their important connections are, who the people in their lives are. And so if you can make it for yourself, you're going to make it better for your clients the second time you do it.
And person-centered perspective, forming a relationship in which we work together to empower the parent or child. The EcoMap shows the important nurturing or conflict-laden connections between the family and the world. It demonstrates the flow of resources or lack thereof. As an assessment tool, an EcoMap can be helpful in determining the family's strengths, resources, needs, and deficits. It helps the parents and children to understand the various systems with which they interact, and it gives us the opportunity to encourage them to build upon their network if necessary. For example, we will make an EcoMap for Michelle, the author's daughter, a healthy 17-year-old teenager. But before we start with the example, let's explore what resources people usually have. When we think about supports, we can divide them into informal and formal supports. Informal supports are family members and friends, people who don't get paid to be with us. On the other end are formal supports. We think about school, intervention programs, doctors, CPS, and CASA.
Did I speed it up to double speed? It sounds like she's talking fast. Is that okay for you guys?
Formal supports are assigned to work with us. They often get paid to do so. Between the formal and informal supports, there are the institutions we choose to be involved with. Examples are the workplace, clubs, faith organizations, and neighbors. That is where we meet people because we are part of the same group. When we draw an EcoMap, we look at all these realms of life to find support for the parent or child. Let's now see what Michelle's EcoMap looks like, what formal and informal support she has, what organizations she is part of, and who she is acquainted with at each of these organizations. We start by putting the person we interview in the middle of the paper and add some empty circles to get it started. A good first question to ask is, who is important in your life? Michelle will tell you about her parents, sisters, and boyfriend. When we ask Michelle where she spends most of her time, she will tell you she spends most of her time at school. We can ask her who important teachers are and who she spends time with at school. She has a friend at school she also meets outside of school. A good next...
This video, and I'll put it in your assignment, it's just how to make the EcoMap, which is our next assignment. And it's like all the stuff you do throughout the week and people you spend time with and all that. I said one little cheat thing, if you guys have an iPhone, is you could download what's called the Life Cycle app. And it gives me like how long I slept, how long I was at work, how long I drove today. God, I've already driven 2 hours and 9 minutes today to get up here. Ran for 42 minutes. I walked for 25 minutes. And then it'll tell like where gym, if you went to a church, if you went to counseling. So that's what this is.
This question is, what groups, activities, or memberships do you hold or belong to? Michelle will then go into a long conversation that she is an activist and is a member of several activist groups and who she knows there. That she is a rock climber and who her favorite coach is and who her climbing friends are. She also tells you she goes to church and a church group, but she isn't close with anyone there. Since we cannot put in a person's name for her church activities, we just put church in the circle. This is a place she meets people and could possibly build on her support network. Asking Michelle about her neighbors, she'll tell you that she has a neighbor whom she could contact in case of emergency. Can the parent or youth you interview name an emergency contact? As a last question, we verify if the diagram is complete. Is there anyone missing? Are there any other groups or places you go to during the week? Michelle will tell you that she goes to vision therapy once a week to learn to focus better. Now we have identified whom Michelle spends time with. We'll review what questions we've asked to get here, and then we'll see how she relates to everyone. Here are some questions you may want to ask to build the eco map.
I'll pause it so you guys can take a picture of all these questions. Like, these are the things you'll draw up that are, the hand's kind of in the way, but like, yeah, who you spend time with, who's important in your life, what groups, activities, memberships do you hold or belong to, who do you talk to when you are there, what is your source of income, why do you talk, who do you talk to in your neighborhood, can you name an emergency contact, are there any other clubs or places you visit during the week? So that's a few that will help you make it. Life cycle I appreciate because yes, it does track me, but I know that with our phones, they're always tracking what we do. And I'd like to have that information too. I don't want just whatever the phone company that sells my info to people has. I want to have that info too. So I like life cycle.
The next step is to explore the quality of these relationships. Relationships might be depicted as close or distant, strong or weak, one-sided or mutual. Michelle loves her parents and thickens the line between herself and her parents. The arrows point both ways as she receives and gives love. She also loves her sisters, her boyfriend, and other friends, and identifies these relationships as reciprocal. Michelle mainly receives energy from her rock climbing coach, her teacher in school, and her vision therapist. So the arrow points towards Michelle, but not the other way. Michelle and her school counselor argue a lot. This relationship is a strenuous one. We put stripes to show the relationship is taxing. The relationship with the neighbors is not very active, but it gives Michelle peace of mind to have someone to go to in case of a fire or other pressing things. The dashed line shows the relationship, although significant, is tenuous. If the parents or youth you interview give a lot of energy to everyone, but don't receive much back, there is not a balance and it becomes draining. Or if the interviewee receives mostly energy, but is not giving much back, we can likewise be aware of the impacts this could have. As you can see, an eco map gives you a good overview of the dynamics of someone's relationships. It shows you what groups your individual belongs to, what support they have within each group, and where there is a possibility to grow the support network. It creates a meaningful dialogue between volunteer or caseworker and parent or child. Making an eco map together will give you the opportunity to gain understanding of the family's social environment and evaluate connections together. We put a date on the map. Over time, relationships will change. If we give Michelle strategies on how to work with her counselor and how to make friends at church, we have empowered her. And maybe next time we make an eco map with her, it will show. We hope you have enjoyed watching this video. We wish you success in learning more about the children and families you work with. Keep looking for how to reconnect the children with their relatives and other emotional supports. Remember that parents need support as well. Feel free to subscribe to my channel and watch other videos that might be useful for you or your work. Thank you for all you do.
So as you can tell, eco maps are also common in social work. They kind of connect up with the genogram, and let's see if I can find you examples too. So yeah, yours may look like any variety of those. It does help if there's a key like strong energy, bad energy between people, maybe bad energy between friends. We'll do images too, as that might make them bigger. So however yours ends up going, you can put a little blurb in it too. Like some of them have paragraphs. Let's see if it's big enough here. Oh shoot, that one didn't really have it. but you could consider it that way. Eco maps illustrate the relationships of individuals with their environment. They are used by professionals from social work and nursing industries. And as a counseling tool, they may be drawn by a social worker or the clients themselves. And so you guys learn how to do them for yourself. You can do them with your client once you learn. Social and environmental systems are identified and can help formulate the right questions to ask. Though different lines and arrows, through different lines and arrows, connections are assessed as positive or negative influence or a strong or weak player. Once the diagram is plotted, it becomes easier to trace sources of different emotions or conditions, like who's causing what in your life. That's really what it is. Like who's stressing you out, who's causing this. It could be systems too. So like from a systems theory, it could be like the state or the government or the city or, a group of people. And that connects back to the line I wanted to show you guys. So this one's also, there it is. A good documentary I found and I've used, and it was created during the last recession, and our economics tends to go in cycles like this. You'll see a good economy, bad economy, good economy, bad economy. It's usually, they say 7 to 10 years of a cycle. And the last bad cycle we had ended about 2014. So it makes sense that we could be in for a bad economy again, if that makes any sense. So a lot of this is probably truth again now. And I'll show it to you guys to finish off. This is 15 years ago, but 46 million live in poverty. I think it's in the 50s now. We're the highest poverty rate, only ahead of Turkey and Mexico.
The have and the have-nots. The line. The place that people on the bottom are trying to get to, and the place that people on the top are trying to keep from going below. They don't want to look below it either. They don't want to see what's down there because that'll make them feel too guilty about being above it.
The line is the firing line in which people face survival or death. And sometimes the person holding the gun is their neighbor, and sometimes it's their congressman or their alderman who's not doing enough to help them.
The line is where you were always in the position to give help. And then for the first time, this line of I've gone from being somebody who could help to being somebody who needs help.
There's a certain amount of pride that comes in being independent. And there's a certain amount of shame that comes into having to beg for every little thing that you get.
So the poverty line is usually a number. It's a little higher than this now, but 23,000, 24,000 for a long time was the poverty line for a family of 4 to live off of that. It may be upwards of 30,000 now, and different states have different numbers, but whatever state you're in, you always want to look that up to help your clients to see if they qualify for benefits.
$23,000 is no money, nearly. And yet I could still see families who make $35,000, who are still poor, who are still about to lose their home, who still can't afford groceries.
When you start trying to tell people about poverty, they start making excuses and making heartless statements about why people are in poverty, and they don't even have a clue. They don't even have a clue.
Some of the most prevalent and damaging stereotypes about poor people are that they're lazy, that they're stupid, they don't have any skills, prefer poverty, that they can't take care of their families.
people are working harder, just trying to keep their heads above water than we can even imagine. It's hard.
It doesn't matter if you have to stand in line and kind of feel bad about yourself, that you're a failure. You have to cross that line to be able to keep the lights on, to be able to keep feeding your kids.
So children are more likely to be in poverty too, because they don't have the ability to sign up for programs themselves, go sign up for an extra job themselves. Children are affected the most by it just because they're kind of at the behest of their parents and can struggle with that.
Be you without a house, wondering if they're going to go and put you out. But for the grace of God, because a lot of these people had jobs, have degrees, did everything right, but the bottom fell out. And that bottom was that line. They went below that line.
DuPage County is considered one of the richest counties in the state of Illinois, probably one of the top 50 counties in the country as far as per capita income. So there are a lot of well-educated, middle-class, upper-middle-class people that live here. There's also the part of the county that people don't talk about. There's the about 10% of the population that lives at or below the federal poverty line.
Morning. How you doing? Good morning. Here you go. You're all set. Well, thank you. Just have a seat over there. Okay. Thanks.
I remember the first time that I tried to go, I just couldn't do it. I drove there and I sat there and I couldn't get out of the car. And the second time I got out of the car, I went in line and then just got either impatient or just sort of embarrassed and just kind of walked away, because you just don't want to admit that you're that defeated. You've been brought up never to be a charity case, never to have to ask for help. And all of a sudden you're in that position where you got nowhere else to go. And it's hard.
And you're here for Food Pantry today?
Right.
Okay. And you have a birthday bag for Jason?
Yes.
Good. All right. How old is Jason?
It's going to be 12.
Suburban poverty is now at currently higher rate than urban poverty.
So the housing prices I was showing you guys in the last class and just how the dollar was devalued, that really affected, they say, 5 times faster people in suburbs were becoming impoverished than the city. And a lot of that had to do with the dollar devaluation. There was a housing collapse in 2008, but we also had economic recession in 2001, another recession in 2008. So that was 7 years apart. And then COVID was another recession in 2020, which was almost at the end of it with 10 years. And then they got out of it by printing money. But by devaluing the dollar, your dollar was worth less. It costs more in that poverty line. Why it's gone up, why it costs more to be in poverty.
It's been a tidal wave over the last 5 years, whereas maybe before it was a trickle. Now it's just suddenly, people standing outside the door of the food pantry waiting for us to open. There's a desperation, and all the organizations haven't been ready to deal with the numbers of people coming through their doors. Private organizations are a drop in the bucket compared to the federal assistance programs. And so I think there's got to be a partnership. We certainly know that we have a responsibility to do the job that we're doing, and we want to do the job we're doing, but we can't do it alone. We need the resources of the government to help.
So you said 2 from here?
Right.
And then one from here. Okay. Okay.
Applesauce.
All right. And one box of cereal. Okay. All right. Should I go healthy or what the kids like?
Everyone comes here. It's people that have grown up in poverty to people that had 6-figure jobs that were running companies that have lost their jobs. So they're at the end of the rope and they end up here because they don't have anywhere else to turn.
I'm 48 years old and I have 3 kids, single dad, got a daughter who's 17, and 2 sons. They're 14 and 11. Gonna be 12 on Tuesday or Wednesday. So.
Get 2 pieces for me.
Okay. All right.
I was in banking as senior vice president, making the 6 figures. I was very comfortable. Then the last bank I was at was acquired, went off on my own and started to organize banks kind of at the perfect wrong time in a perfect storm, and kind of everything fell apart from that.
ATM for sandwiches.
Okay.
There's also a big turkey in the back.
My wife at that time filed for divorce because we were in an affluent town. Kind of the stress of all it took its toll on our marriage, and pretty much that was it. I had to decide what I was going to do with the rest of my life. I had always in the back of my mind thought about teaching. My mom was a teacher, my grandmother was a teacher, my sister's a teacher. So I kind of thought, well, maybe this is my signal to make that transition. Sometimes you just feel like you're sending your resume into a black hole. You talk, to a principal or you follow up and they're like, we've got 4,000 applicants. And you're like, okay, how do I get noticed? How do I do anything? Pretty much I've been on my own for 2 years, trying to make by on substitute teaching income, trying to make by on any tutoring income I can get on the side. In substitute teaching, you're looking at $85 to $100 a day, depending if you get called into work that day. And usually it's last minute. You may get a phone call at 5:30 in the morning. For me, best case, if I'm working almost every day, I can make $12,000. That would be the best I could do. I never thought I would be in that position. I, was a straight A student. I got a high ACT, went to a great school, graduated high honors. Everything is roses. Everything's perfect in your life. Coffee. Always desperate for coffee. You have to work really hard to find the way to get by. The government isn't really seeking you out to say, we want to help you get you back on your feet.
All the bread you want?
Oh, the bread? Okay. All right. All right.
I mean, I'm insulted if somebody says, John, you're just lazy. You're just not trying. You just don't care. I'm like, I care. I care more than anybody. Thank you very much. It's sort of like being at a grocery store where not everything's been put on the shelf, but you just have to do the best you can and hope you get enough that can help you to get through each month. So you kind of put your own choices to the back burner because, you just have to try to look and say, what do you really need?
I think that there's a real divide in this country and that people are struggling. The people that maybe are sort of untouched by the recession think that, unemployment is going down and, things are starting to look up. Businesses are starting to hire people. They're not seeing those people that have really, really been struggling for a long, long time.
You have to make choices sometimes about what bills you're going to pay. I mean, I've had my gas shut off. I've had my electric shut off. It's horrifying. And it's embarrassing when your kids go to turn on something and it doesn't work. It's the most horrible feeling in the world. Kids just don't get it. And I think that's been the hardest thing, is just to answer the questions. You know, my youngest son would just say, Dad, when are you going to get your car fixed? You know, and it's like, well, when I can, you know. I have gotten used to checking for the expiration dates. Sometimes, you just got to be careful. I mean, not that you're angry, you're grateful that you get what you get, but one time I got like some Velveeta that somebody donated. It was like 5 years old. It was like a black brick. But I'm hoping that I can hold on for at least another year, maybe two. My kids at the age they are, I really want to be around for them, so moving isn't an option for me. I just feel like I've aged so much. It's like a constant kind of throbbing in your mind of like, what am I going to do? I don't want to worry about this anymore, but you just don't know how to stop it. You're doing everything that every person says is the right thing to do, the right steps to follow, but it's not happening. And what if it doesn't happen? What if it doesn't happen fast enough?
I do think that a lot of the violence and a lot of what is going on right now is associated with people who are living with post-traumatic stress disorder. Trauma is simply a shift, a sudden shift in the ways in which we understand life and make meaning. Trauma in a psychological or a more psychosocial sort of sense in which I'm poor now. Wow. What am I supposed to do? Or the other experience of people who have lived in poverty their entire life, and their mother did, and their grandmother did, and their grandmother did. So there have been generations of poverty, and theirs is a more deeper trauma, which is affiliated with this sort of nihilism or this sense of meaninglessness and hopelessness that says we will always be this way. This will always be the case.
We're on Monroe and Pulaski, and it's considered K-Town from Pulaski to Laramie because of the Karloff, Keeler, all the Ks. And this is where I grew up, in this house, with my family, my father, my mother, my 2 sisters, and 3 brothers. My sister was going to play for a church, which was about a block that way and about 2 blocks over. And she was walking. It was late, around 10 or so. She was coming down around the corner. She was shot and killed. She was shot in the head and killed. The police never came. They came for that night, but there was never an investigation. So as far as I'm concerned, they never found out who actually killed her. But that destroyed our family, pretty much. That was the beginning of the end of the family that we knew. Just one bullet. We never recovered. One bullet. And we never recovered. I think the thing that bothers me the most is that my sister wasn't a statistic. She had a name. She had a family. She had people that loved her, who depended on her for their survival, literally for their survival emotionally. And it's hard for me even to come down this block. It's a long time that I could even drive down this block because I always think about the day that I heard the bullet.
It's crazy in these streets, and it's hard right now to start judging. But when you
So I go by Jay Quest, and my music is what my ministry is. It's around helping people understand that you're human and that you have a ton of possibility and a ton of potential inside of you. And we need to hear that more in these communities of poverty. People are killing each other for some very plain reasons, because whether they're poor or not, in terms of a quantitative measurement, they feel poor. They feel like they need more. They feel less than human. They feel offended by their government. They feel offended by their neighbor. It's like my dreams out of reach. It's pain and honest grief. You can see God and you haven't seen. Tell them it's crazy in these streets. Feel my pain and get so.
Most of the young people where I grew up in K-Town, they didn't expect to live past 18, 20, because their friends are dying like, around them. Like this is literally a war. They never know from one day to the next if you're going to wake up and your friend is going to be gone, or if it's going to be you. So there is no hope. You know why they're not so keen on education? Because education means you plan to have a future. They don't plan to have a future. They think that the streets are going to kill them. That's their reality. One of my first jobs was working at a bank downtown. And when I would say to people where I came from, where I lived, they would be so shocked. Really? You lived over there? Because they don't expect people from K-Town or certain areas to be able to get out and get good jobs and to actually look like success. I was one of the youngest supervisors at the bank. I didn't have my first child till I was 30. I didn't have to depend on anyone, and all the bottom fell out in one fall. It's just all the bottom fell out. There was a screw. My boot got caught in the screw, and I fell head first, 14 feet, into a wall. I broke my arm in two places. I knocked my brain into my spinal column. So it's caused me to start having strokes. I ended up having to have brain surgery where they had to take a big piece of my skull out so my brain could breathe. It took me 15, 20 years to finally get back to where I could be up and around it. And keep in mind that I had a 7-month-old, a 2-year-old, and a 6-year-old. I knew I needed to leave, to move out of that neighborhood when my son turned 7.
See, I had a lot of fun as a child running up and down the block. I didn't realize that I was around one of the biggest drug operations right behind my house. There was a lot of stuff being sold in and out through there. They'd ask me to take something to someone else. No, I've done that in the building, and I didn't even realize what I was doing. I was just delivering, thinking, hey, they asked me to take this down.
Some of these little boys I knew were bad news. He didn't, but I knew. This house that we live in now used to belong to my parents. And then when my father passed, the house was just too much for my mother to handle. So my sister, my brother, myself, we all moved out here to live with my mom. And together we made it a community home, which is what, quite often happens when people are trying to, get out of a bad situation. Right after, about a year after my accident, I realized that I would not be the same. And I went on disability. And disability gave me $1,000. I think at that time it was like $900 a month. I had 3 children. They gave me $900 a month for me, and they gave me $122, I think, for each child. Keep in mind, that's to pay my rent, I had food stamps, but it wasn't a lot. So a lot of times we would run out of food stamps.
It's not that much to pay.
Yeah, but it's not as organized as it should be. The whole world is see.
Giving my children hope, that was the hard part because they went to a private school. So they lived with all these people who were very well off, who drove nice cars, whose parents were giving them credit cards to spend carte blanche. And then they came back here and I'm saying, nope, we don't buy name brand gym shoes. Nope, we're not going out to eat. We got to do whatever mama's got to cook. It was disappointing from a mother's point because I wanted to give them the best. And I always thought when I had my children, I was going to be able to shower them. That was my desire, as I think most parents. That was my desire, but I wasn't able to do that.
I was born and raised in this little town called Devant, Louisiana, in 1945. Just about everyone in this community had done fishing of one type or another, either crab fishing, shrimping, or oystering, at least part-time. It was a wonderful way to make a living. God gave us a heaven here, a gold mine. It was there for the taking. Anyone that wanted to make a good, honest living could do it. All they needed was a strong back and a little bit of brains. No matter what time of year it was, we were either shrimping, crabbing, dredging oysters. A person that didn't have any work could come to this marina, go by the conveyors where they were unloading in the evening, and, hey, I need a job. Okay, show up here tomorrow morning. You had a job. The people of this area, this entire area, depend on the environment. They depend on what God gave us. And God gave us a lot down here, but we didn't know how to take care of it.
Just a fallen empire, slowly flowing through my head.
Had someone told me 10 years ago that this place would be this dormant, I'd never believe it. I never would have believed it. But it's happened, and it's happened so quickly. It's just unimaginable. I don't know if it's because of the natural disaster that we had with Katrina or the oil spill. The natural resources are not there anymore. The coastline is washing away. There's places that when I was in high school, we used to go out and hunt rabbits. And now those places don't exist. They're all gone. They're gone, completely gone. It's a minimum or an average of 3 years before that oyster's ready for the market to be harvested. Next year, there'll be no oysters. For 3 years, there won't be any oysters. And this year, we had a very low harvest of shrimp. So what's going to happen? I don't know. I don't have any confidence in the future. Unless we get a drastic change, a sudden change in the amount of seafood and the prices, there's no way that I can continue to do this and survive with it. Because all I'm doing now is losing money. You know? Just can't do it. The numbers don't add up. They just don't add up. Okay. I don't worry about myself that much. It's only just me and Bonnie. We'll survive. But my children, I worry about my children. This community, I've seen a change not only with income, but I can see a change in the people. The people that are still here are not happy anymore. The people were always jolly. They didn't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow was taken care of. And now everyone's worried. They're all stressed. Catholic Charities was here up until last week paying people's utilities for them. They couldn't pay them. And now they're gone. They left last week. So a lot of these families that were dependent on that, they don't even have that now. So in this great United States, believe it or not, we're going to have people down here that are going to have their electricity cut off. And they're going to be living that way. I hope that it gets better. But deep down inside, being realistic, I don't see it. It's just a culture, the whole culture. The whole culture is gone.
Poverty is struggling to make things work. When you have to struggle paycheck to paycheck, that's poverty. You try to fight yourself out of it, but you can't. You can't. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, with my two sisters and my brother, my mother, and my father, until my father decided to just leave the house and leave us by ourselves, which hurt my mother mentally and got her unstable. We would have never survived if welfare didn't approve us and we were getting food stamps every month. And no, me by myself, I wouldn't have been able to do it. And I had to give up going to college. Went down to the racetrack in New York City with a friend of mine, started hot walking horses coming off the track. And that's where I started working, which was at the racetrack, and turned around and did it for 22 years. It was every day, 365 days a year, and that was it. There was never a day off. I came here to North Carolina after I stopped working at the racetrack. And when you come off of that, everybody's like, okay, so what skill do you have? It's like, you really don't. You know, I had a skill of putting horses on a racetrack. I was in the shelter 3 months. It's a hard thing because North Carolina, the unemployment rate is 9.4. It's one of the highest in the United States. Being in the shelter, I wasn't ashamed of it. I did it on my own. I wasn't there because I used drugs, because I was an alcoholic. I refused to sleep in the street. I wasn't going to get put in jail for sleeping in the street. Every day I used to get up, get dressed, and go out to look for a job and stuff like that. And then when I found out about Jim Noble's restaurant and the church services that they have here, and I introduced myself.
It is a 501c faith-based, not-for-profit restaurant. And that's unusual. In fact, there's not been many done like this, I don't think. And it really has two parts. One is to help raise money from a nonprofit state, and we're going to give all the profits away to help feed the poor. Secondly, King's Kitchen Restoration Program, which is a discipleship, life-changing program to help people get back on their feet through on-the-job training, obviously, Bible study, discipleship. Even though it's a ministry, we also are a restaurant, and we have to compete, and we have to execute, and we have to run the restaurant right, or the whole thing would fall. And this is not an easy industry to be in anyway. Restaurant business is tough.
In front of you, beside you. I came here and I volunteered here, and they threw me as a dishwasher. I've never worked in a restaurant before. Cole, we got a 4-time getting up. And it shocked everybody how fast I pick it up. When I put my mind to something that I really want to do, I know I can do it. I'll come with a big tray.